Violence does not become acceptable because a woman commits it, and lipstick, lashes, and unchecked entitlement do not excuse aggression, intimidation, or criminal behavior. When society excuses violent conduct based on gender, it doesn't create justice, it creates chaos. And that chaos is being modeled early, normalized often, and paid for later by families, children, and communities. Welcome back to Family Still Matters. I'm Deborah. This channel exists to protect families, tell the truth plainly, and speak with moral clarity when culture refuses to do so. This is not reactionary content. This is corrective content. I ask that you listen all the way through before responding, because this conversation requires maturity, not emotion. This message is for adults who value accountability. It is for men and women who believe standards must apply evenly. It is not for people committed to excuses, denial, or rewriting reality to protect bad behavior. And it is not an attack on women. It is a refusal to excuse violence based on gender or sex. What's at risk is family stability. What's at risk is the safety of our children. What's at risk is whether young girls are being formed with self-control or entitlement. And what's at risk is whether young men growing up believing that accountability only applies to them. Double standards do not create protection. They create confusion, resentment, and eventually destruction. Recently, I watched multiple videos where women and even teenage girls deliberately escalated situations. In one, a woman aggressively provoked a man who was attempting to peacefully remove himself from a shared living space because of her aggressiveness. She openly declared that even if he accidentally brushed past her, she would call the police and accuse him of abuse. In other videos, women screamed at police officers doing routine traffic stops. They threatened the officer, they spit on him, they kicked them, and then refused lawful requests, all while being treated by these officers with patience and great restraint. One of those women had 2 small children in her car witnessing everything. And I will link the videos. I will not replay them. I will not give them visual space here. But I want you to see what is being modeled and defended in our culture. If a man behaves this way, he is immediately labeled dangerous. If a woman behaves this way, the language changes. She's emotional. She's overwhelmed. She's reacting. Violence does not change its nature based on who commits it. Threats are still threats. False accusations are still crimes. And provocation is still provocation. And for those who may not understand what provocation means, let me be clear. When a provocation is deliberate behavior meant to incite a reaction, it is pushing, taunting, threatening, escalating, and daring someone to respond so you can later claim victimhood. When women are allowed to weaponize victimhood, it does not empower women. It places everyone at risk, especially women who are genuinely abused and later no longer believed. What concerns me most is how early this behavior is developing. We are seeing teenage girls who are screaming, threatening, defiant, and completely out of control with no fear of consequence. They are being taught that aggression plus gender equals immunity. And then we act surprised when those same girls grow into violent, disrespectful adults. Character does not suddenly appear. It's practiced, it's permitted, and it's reinforced. Children do not do what we say. They do what they see us repeat without excuse. I want to give context to this next point so it is clearly understood. In a previous video, I shared about why black men do not choose black women for marriage. Someone commented that women today behave the way they do. Women in the 40s and 50s treated men like kings while accepting abuse. The argument was that earlier generations created entitled men and that modern women are simply refusing to tolerate mistreatment. That claim is historically wrong. Good women in the past did not tolerate abuse. They avoided violent men. They pursued stability, responsibility, and character. The women who accepted abuse then are the same ones accepting it now. They were not pursuing good men. They were drawn to fast life, fast money, reckless men, chaos, and what we now call thugs. When I was a child, around 8 years old, my uncle was involved with a woman from a community openly referred to at that time as a place of ill repute. They call it something else now. You can go ask your parents, or you can go back and do a search somewhere, because I'm not going to say it, but I'm going to use what we used in the 50s and 60s, a place of ill repute. She wanted more than my uncle was willing to give. So as a trap and a noose, she accused him of abuse. She set up a pattern to make it seem as if he was abusing her. She then went and hurt herself and pretended he did it. She and her mother later framed him and shot him in their home in the place of ill repute. And the police, because this place of ill repute was getting police protection to operate, so the police didn't investigate. And the system protected them. No justice, no accountability for my family. This is not new. It has simply been renamed and repackaged. Let me be absolutely clear. I do not excuse violent men. I do not defend abusive behavior from anyone. And I am not encouraging aggression from either sex. I am saying that wrong is wrong regardless of who commits it. And when women are allowed to provoke, threaten, falsely accuse, and escalate with no accountability, it teaches the next generation that responsibility is optional. Scripture is clear on this matter. You shall do no injustice in judgment. You shall not be partial to the poor, nor honor the person of the mighty. In righteousness you shall judge your neighbor. That's in Leviticus 19 and 15. And Leviticus, for those of you that only read the New Testament, is in the Old Testament. And you best to go back and learn the Old Testament, because if anything you're following in the New is not rooted and grounded in Old Testament Hebrew text, then it's questionable. Justice cannot exist where standards are selective. Families cannot survive where accountability is optional. And children cannot thrive where disorder is excuse. This is why I speak. This is why this channel exists. I'm Deborah, and this is Family Still Matters, and may God continue to richly bless.